This is the Uncensored podcast with Robert Peppo.
Do you think people will vote for me?
I'm actually glad this happened. Not that we needed a water heater to break.
Well, you know, it comes in handy. Sometimes it forces the, man, we should do this. Oh, yeah, we'll get around to it. Yeah, okay.
Turns out, with what we're about to talk about, with a bunch of shit going on.
Well, you know.
Even hard to get to the things you want to get to. Yeah, okay, well, fucking welcome back. I probably forgot how to do intros, outros, but fuck all that shit because we got good content. But yeah, back again with Brad. So this will be like the third or fourth or fifth one we've done. But as we discussed the other day, the one that we really wanted to kind of dive into or talk about what happened after was the one we did in Florida.
Yep.
So if you guys look back at that, it was called Babs, like the road trip Chronicles or Car Ride Chronicles or something when we were in Florida, which I wish we were today.
Same. Yes.
But we've been talking about this one for a while.
It's crazy to look back. We're a little more than a year, right, since that trip. But
for all purposes, it's about a year.
It's about a year. Yeah.
Because we could have done this podcast at that 1 year mark. It would have been the same.
Not much has changed. So if you look back and all the things we talked about doing in that podcast, we've done all of them and then some, which is kind of wild because when you're in it, you're like, this is taking forever.
Talk about that all the fucking time.
And then now you look back, you're like, wow, we did all that in a year.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, it was super awesome. And that is probably from like the first podcast we've ever done here with me, you and Alex and Skylar was we talked about why it's important to be around the right people and or discuss the things because we all have good ideas, then to hold each other accountable, but to contribute in some way, like add value to each other and like it be encouraging and use each other like today. And then it actually adds to it. I guess you even said that when we were doing the water heater, that flowing of back and forth stuff, right? Talking about like, yo, I know you could hook me up, but we want to support each other's businesses, right? Cool. Yep. That's how it should work. And then the money flows. So it's actually, if it goes to you, it's very likely, like yesterday at Peppo, it's going to come back to me in some way, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it should work. And we started talking about that, 2 or 3 years ago, and getting really serious about it. And then it fucking legitimately happened in real life and came to fruition by talking through it. And it's pretty cool too to hear from the teachers that we've worked with now for a year or two.
Right.
They're like, yo, y'all done been doing a lot of shit.
Right. I think to somebody that's not heavily involved in any sort of business or doesn't really kind of do what we do, to them, it's just mind blowing. And to us, it's day in and day out normal life to some degree. And then when you talk to somebody and they're like, wow, you guys last year were that was just kind of an idea. And now you guys have done it and it's successful and you have now data to look back and you're working on growing that metric even more, which is, it's wild. Sometimes I don't think about it that way until times like that where somebody's like, hey, that's wild. You guys did all that.
Yep. And it's the part that goes from theory and idea to real life and actuality. Lots of people have really good ideas or want to do a lot of things. And maybe they are held back from a few reasons that are out of their control. But I have been, and here now is us trying to be the example also. So it's not to toot our own horn. I don't want to brag or be, braggadocious or whatever it is. And you surely are not. Definitely one of the more humble people that I've ever come across, but it's an example.
Yep.
Because there's been plenty of times I didn't know if shit would work or be able to do it or how do I do it. And I looked to somebody else, like, damn, they did it. They actually did that shit.
Right.
Fuck yeah.
I may have mentioned before, there's one of my mentors told me, a rocket scientist is no smarter than you or I. They just applied themselves differently
to rockets.
To rockets, right? So if you apply yourself to the shit you're interested in, the stuff you want to do, And for us, it's growing our businesses and work. And, you have that work drive, like this stuff is going to happen, but you do have to execute it, and you have to be consistent with what you do and continue to build and grow. And, but yeah, it's cool to kind of, to look back and see in such a short time what can be accomplished when you do that. The scary thing is it just makes so much more things tangible. She's like, well, if I built that in a month, what, and I didn't know what I was doing. Well, now I know what I'm doing. How quick can I build this? How quick can I launch another one of these? How many more suites can I open?
And you and I both have done that.
Yes.
And that comes with risk, because it is essentially all on you and Skylar, right?
Yep.
So then all on me and Alex, or, now our franchisees, or whoever I bring onto the team, let's say Danny or Ethan or whatever.
Sure.
But now you have to execute, right? So like, I like that part also.
Yeah.
So when it's on you, you don't have a choice or the option. Of course you always do. But I don't.
Yeah.
And you don't.
Right.
And so that's what's actually kind of cool, because it'll make you do better and try to do your best and do those things. So you mentioned doing it, be like, oh fuck, okay, well now I know way more. That doesn't come without bumps and bruises and hiccups. Oh, yeah. I know for sure it did for me, and we can get into some of that.
Yeah.
But without doing it, I would have missed all of that.
Yes.
That which I got in, let's say, 3 to 6 months, maybe more than I did in 5 years of going through business and even just trying to build it, right?
Yeah.
And then doing it, even though we've done it before, not in this model or not in this way and not at this level.
Right.
Hard or not, if you do not go through it, like just start, just do it.
Yeah.
Building out the suites. We talked about that a year ago.
We did.
Right? Then there's, we could, man. We talked about a couple different versions of that.
We did.
Right? And then the best version came right next to you. It was perfect opportunity.
Well, and that's the wild thing. And for those that don't know, at the time we filmed that road trip podcast, my wife, who's like me, been self-employed, at the time had gone to work for somebody else to just kind of reset things. Realized that was not the best move for her. And it was, okay, we need to open our own salon. So not only did we open and build out a salon space for her in an insanely quick time, we then took over in our building, the space next door, and built out salon suites, which they're fully stocked and rented out. And we have amazing tenants in there, and they're great people. And it's created this awesome work environment. But this was all just kind of things we speculated and talked about at the time. It was like, yeah, we'll find a space, and yeah, we could do a build out, or we could do,
Well, we know you can do the build out.
Yes. We could do this, or we could, and I think we were talking about, like I was even talking to you of like, hey, like I'm looking at commercial space here or there, and we would often send space back and forth to each other. And again, that kind of goes back to having that circle of friends. If I would have, say, sent that idea to like family or maybe some of my other friends, would be like, why do you want to do that? Whereas you're like, yeah, cool, that space works great. I like that for this reason and this reason and this reason. So surrounding yourself by those key core people make doing this stuff way easier. And, they kind of push you. Sometimes you need somebody to push you off the edge.
Well, usually, just like you said, to come to do the water heater plus this, you're like, I like the fuck it part.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
I am, if I ever write on a book on business, it's just going to be called Fuck It.
Okay. So I'm stamping that for a year from now, maybe.
Okay.
Because absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
There has to be.
I had a conversation with some folks that were looking to kind of step out of their comfort zone into business. And I relate the fuck it to a lot of things. Sometimes you just have to do it, because you get those experiences and things that you learn, and there's the bumps and bruises along the way, but it's, you earn that, it's earned. It's so rewarding. But every day in business, you have to make a decision. One way it could be on, should I order more material today, or should I wait till tomorrow? It could be the most meaningless thing, but sometimes you're going to be like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it now. And the fuck it goes along with making decisions. And there are a lot of people that just won't make it. They'll just kind of sit on things. Sometimes you just got to make the decision. It doesn't mean it's the right one, but the act of making this decision forces you down that path. You know, it was a huge undertaking to take on, leasing a commercial space for us with some unknowns, and then being smart enough to be like, all right, but we want first dibs on the space next door when it becomes vacant. And, even our leasing agent was like, really? We're like, yes. And it came available quickly, and we're like, great. And then we built spaces. So a lot of, just being like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to put this in the contract, gave us first dibs on a perfect space for us.
Yep. Yeah. And that fuck it goes the other way too. If things don't work out, fuck it. There's another opportunity too. Mm-hmm. Right. So that really does apply. And, again, you can hear that from our previous podcast that, although it sounds kind of funny and we're just kind of saying it because that's our style and shit. No, like it's pretty legit.
Yeah.
And there's a few principles that I think we kind of live by. One, we can usually figure it out.
Yep.
Two, if it doesn't work out, something else will. And there's going to be risk and unknowns anyway. Fuck it. Right. But we're pretty confident, right? Earned confidence that no matter what the thing is, there's usually a solution. And you work through it enough or talk through it. So you mentioned talking to family or other friends. They could be encouraging or even supportive. But there's layers deeper to most of these things. And that's where I like to take it to. Plus, when you bring an idea or something, I sit back and think about that like, cool. And I'll give you an answer that I think you can understand would come from years of experience that would be like, okay, cool. That makes sense. Or he would say it because of this. And same with you.
Yeah.
And because we've talked through so many of these things already, you kind of have that, it's there to fill in. You don't need to ask too many more questions, where people who aren't as connected or in business mindset and everything, they have an incomplete or just a supportive answer. And there might not be a ton of substance, or they don't know if it's actually a good idea or not. They're not sure.
Right.
And so you got to take that with a grain of salt. So like, there's a very small circle for me of like who I can throw something to quick and get a real response. Even if it's short, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I know that response will be kind of where it needs to be.
Yeah. There's insane. I think, again, it comes from that earned. You also kind of earn your friend group, yeah.
That's hard.
Right.
Actually,
my daughter and I have been having like conversations on friend groups and who to surround yourself with.
Shout out Ellie. His daughter's a savage too.
She's
just in high school.
Yeah. She's gonna be a heavy hitter, man. Like it's cool to see, but we talk about like just the importance of, having supportive friends and understanding what you're going to get out of friends. It's kind of weird to look at it that way, but as I get older, everything almost becomes like contractual, and it's like, well, these people kind of bring this to the table for me,
but not in a bad way.
It's when you say it out loud, it kind of sounds, but it's not. It's just true.
To some people,
reality, right? Yeah, no, it's just like this is what kind of works great in this kind of vibe, and like what's kind of unique. Our busy seasons really kind of correlate, and I mean, you've been doing a boatload of stuff too, and so. We really haven't done much together, but we don't really skip a beat, like it's like, hey man, I need info on this, or what's your thought about this, or this is going on, or you'd have questions about the bill. You'd be like, hey, can I, pick your brain for a second? I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. Like, and that's what you need in a friend group and people you surround yourself with and people that, are going to try and get the best version of you and what you're doing.
Yep. I think one of the cool things to piggyback off of that we talked about at Andrew the other day was that people that got good info or are confident in what they do, they don't gatekeep and they're willing to keep that. Now it's still rare because you still got to find the people because people out there hustling, building. It's very hard to connect and build. But when you do find those right people, and like we have a few, right? Both of us have a few. There's a free flow of information that's super helpful, even if it's little bits here and there. Like you said, when we're busy and shit, look, those little things that you helped answer or swung by one or two times, like each one of those months as we were building, that's super important. One, because of trust, 2, because of understanding. And 3, because sometimes we just need some answers, and I don't got them for some of these things. Right. And so there's no gatekeeping. And that to me is one of the most valuable things that I think gets overlooked, or people think is competition instead of collaboration.
Right.
Maybe my book will be called that.
Yeah.
Competition over, or collaboration over competition. It's one of the things, or maybe just a chapter. But it is.
It is. It's huge when you kind of realize, like, I'm confident enough in what I do and what I've built and where I've taken these businesses to like, more people should get to enjoy the stuff that I do. So the more I can share that, the more I see people that, for lack of a better term, struggle in their normal, we'll call them 9-to-5 job or whatever. And people that I see that are super talented, but they're, kind of pre-programmed a certain way to just, well, this is what I do. And there are a great deal of people that are comfortable in that world. And I that's great, but there are people that you talk to and you see that don't have that support, or don't have that friend group, or don't have somebody to just kind of nudge them over the edge. It's always a bummer. So given the opportunity, I want to help everybody do kind of what we do.
Yeah. Well, because we see the other side of it.
Yeah.
First of all, I think we can see potential. So it being a good judge of people and seeing people's skill set or potential or whatever. But yeah, I would have to agree with that. We generally want people to feel that freedom, or at least have the opportunity to explore whatever they're good at and be able to try and do it. Neither one of us started with many or a lot of resources. Neither one of us started with all the answers. But that's one of my main things, is because I didn't, if I have some way to help somebody, I wish somebody would have for me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to either help you with the blueprint, show you the way, or just generally contribute. So maybe you can, right?
It's going back to being an, we did, was it last week? I don't know what day it is, but sure. Yeah. We did District 230 or Andrew. We went to Andrew. We did their like kind of mock Shark Tank for the entrepreneurship classes, which is always just in general a lot of fun. But we always tell the teachers and the staff and really anybody that would listen, like, school was not really easy for us. It really didn't make a lot of sense. It wasn't, especially high school. It was just not, whatever. You're just kind of there. I was never given the, classes or opportunity or anything, kind of like I feel like we're trying to give these kids, or the programs that they have now as far as business. So if any kid, and there were a couple that came up and talked and, that have great ideas or are in businesses or are trying to start their own business with stuff. So helping that in any way is just huge. Just to be able to give kids a different look on life, and just to, we say it all the time, like, what if we had a, 4 or 8 year jump on our trajectory of stuff we did, like, to come out of high school with this mindset.
I'd be selling now.
Yes. 100%. Me too. We'd both be in Florida, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just need to speed that process up.
Yes.
Which is what we're doing. Like, that's the point of expanding. There's no reason to expand or try other things unless it's for a purposeful goal, which is to get to the best parts of life. Like, that is what it is. No one should be quiet about that.
Right.
Like, it's cool. Like, we like what we do and everything, but there's a goal at the end of this. And that's kind of why put more on your plate or risk it if there isn't. And there's no guarantee that it works, but I would rather have went for it than not and wondered.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
100%.
Of course, the fuck it.
Yeah.
But it's the man in the arena, Marcus Aurelius, I guess, is, the person in the arena is the motherfucker that matters. Everybody else in the stands, or those who wish and wonder, no, we're going to come out with bruises and scars, but at least no matter what, there won't be much regret or wonder because we motherfucking tried.
Yeah.
And usually when you do that, it actually works.
It does.
That's the cool part.
Yep. I'm also a big believer in just putting it into the universe. So by doing this and talking about it, and talking with your core friend group and people that push you, the more you say it, the more you're going to do it. And the more those people are going to hold you accountable, because they'll be like, hey man, what's going on with that idea you said? Or, where you at on that? How can I help you? Like, hey, do this, and, we'll buy that product, or we'll, I could use that here, like it's huge to do that. So I just the more you kind of project out to the universe, the more that stuff will come to fruition.
100%. And so that's like the same thing as praying.
Yep.
Are you not putting it into the universe? When you do it,
100%.
right? Same. We're just,
Yep.
people call it different things, but that is what it is. Manifestation, meditation, all that. To me, it's the same.
Yep.
Right? You're putting that actual energy and thoughts and good stuff into the universe or to your friend group or in text or on paper, right? There's a reason why people say like, write your goals.
Yep.
One of the main premises of starting this like 3 years ago was that I would put it out there, actualize it, and that motherfuckers hold me accountable and call me out on my bullshit.
Right.
Like, yo, I think I'm pretty right, but if the world or people hear it, someone's going to call me out, or people ain't going to want to fuck with me because it's incorrect,
Right.
whatever. And more so to put it out there of what I'm going to do to hold myself accountable to. Right. So those are all the same things. I think people don't do that enough. People are sometimes scared to say what they want to do. Yo, low key, I'm not a nervous type of person, but I knew when I said I wanted to sell for 100 million, people would be like, all right, man. And there's like low key, be like, yeah, okay. Cause who does that?
Right.
Well, people do that, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
And
you just don't know them. And
Yeah.
I guess we do now kind of with the girl from Ghost, but I knew what would come with that. Fuck it.
And I told you that was too low of a number.
For sure. You're not the only one, thankfully. Awesome. But you were the first one to be like, you sure?
Yeah.
You know, and actually, you know, what was it, 2-3 months ago? Jersey Mike's went public for 8-9 billion. Billion with a B?
With a B.
100 million's low as fuck
Told you.
to that. Legitimately pennies.
I know.
What? That perspective shift to me, because I can make that real somehow. I don't really know how, because I've never had 100 million or even a liquid million. But when I'm like, oh, 9 billion, 100 million is low.
You're right.
For real, that seems now even more so achievable, because I make it real, because to me it is. Now we're competing at that level, right?
Well, it is. And it's funny how just that simple shift of mindset was like 100 million was your billion. Now you're like 100 million's low, right? So again, it's all in that mindset of how you do things, what you do, how you view things. You know, and I think that, and it starts at the smallest level, you know, like I told
Well, it starts here.
It does.
Then it starts talking.
Right.
Then it goes to like a plan.
Yeah.
So it does literally, my $100 million plan started as,
Yeah. What do I do this? Yeah. You know, like, you know, I start, you know, shit. I mean, there's one time I did plumbing and sprinkler work out of a hand-me-down minivan. You know, like you just start. Like that's the key. If you just start it.
no one knows everything. So
No.
like, I used to wait. I would say that because I wanted it to be perfect, especially right after Tinley era. I was like, it has to be fucking perfect. I will never do that again. It's never. I'm literally working on everything still today, and I think I'm pretty fucking locked in.
Yeah.
In my space.
It's a good thing to share, because there are people that I do and they have that. Well, I need in mind. Well, I need a bright, shiny new van, or I need a wrap, and then I need clothes. You know, I need this. And yeah, sure, you need all that stuff, but you really don't. Like, you can start now. You can start, you know, today doing this stuff. Even, you know, I'm slowly building a shirt brand, and we're doing screen printing and all that kind of stuff. We just bought a 4-color screen press, and, you know, but I started doing heat transfers.
Yeah.
You know,
but you started.
I started.
That was the point.
Yeah.
Because you're like, hey, man, do you want a hat or two? I'm like, what you got there?
Right.
Why are you asking me that?
So
yeah. Because I had some space to put this in my office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was.
And then we ordered them and bought him from.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the way it works. And it's as simple as that. And when you network, people are like, hey, cool, you make that stuff. I need that. Oh, you can do small runs and stuff. That's cool. My guy can't do that. Can you? Yeah, sure. Cool.
Yeah.
You know?
That actually low key might be a niche, because there's sometimes we need 1 or 2 things, or like somebody's hat breaks. Like, damn, I got over 20 hats right now, or 12 even. Like, fuck, Gabe just needs a hat, you know? Actually, that may be a niche thing. And I know there's nuances that come with that.
There are.
Like the screens and everything.
But yeah, I mean, the way we do them with the transfers, order the transfer. You know, I can order 1, I can order 6,000.
And then likely people will want their batch anyway, like us for sure.
Yes.
We need some to fill it in here and there. And we just talked about that actually.
Yeah.
But if you could do that, like I've done 1 or 2 pieces, and like our guys, just because we work them, don't love it.
Right. Nobody does. Like the traditional way of doing printing, they don't, you got to do the artwork, you got to make the screen, you got to do the whole bit. And then for 2 shirts, like it's insane. This is and I'm a big niche business guy. Like, yes, plumber, but sprinklers are my jam. That's my weird little niche. So I see, Skylar too, my wife, her, stylist, but her niche is vivid colors. Like she
so you understand it on a holistic level. Number one, as a small business owner, as a niche business, but as what do we need? Like even I think a small business goes up to like 5 million is like when you get into medium size, like 5 to 10 or something. Well, that's pretty fucking big business.
Yeah.
So you understand these things of what we may need, some gaps in the markets.
Yep.
What's maybe what's trending or even a good opportunity here and there. And so when you get to see that and then you bring in a t-shirt or a hat or a screen press thing, or however you're doing it, it's because you understand what other businesses need that are like you and what are our, bottlenecks and things we can't work around sometimes that we want to. That's where I think you have a really unique way to do things and how you approach things.
At my busy peak, I have 4 employees. I don't need 60 shirts for 4,
exactly.
Yeah. So it is that niche of like, well, same thing. Like, oh man, I gotta get shirts ordered. Well, there's a minimum. Well, and truly, for the cost of a shirt order, I bought all the stuff to do it myself.
And so like, shout out my guys from Bear Line who are good. They've done a lot of our stuff,
phenomenal.
right?
Yeah.
And I want to support them in their business too,
100%.
right? And we did our first runs for Orland with them, so we got a big bulk. It was good. And now we're like, oh shit, we only need like 3 here. But I'm like, man, if I only do that, now the cost goes up and does all these things. And there may even just be these gap periods that until you get able to like handle big productions, do that, actually it fits a great spot. Or for the solopreneurs, the tattoo artist that wants to rock his own cool shirt.
Yep. Or if you want to try out a design before you spend.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's a hard one too.
Yeah. So before you spend money on getting I got to order 60 of these shirts. I don't know if it's going to sell. Well, here, man, come buy 10 of them, 6 of them, 5, buy one. I don't care.
Yeah, but there's always a cost associated with doing that. So like for me, doing a shirt run or doing let's say a single print, I know the screen is going to be extra. Got to do that. But for one, instead of printing for $1,000, let's spend 60 on a t-shirt with the screen, try it out and see. I might do that every new idea I have just to see which one works. Well, then the screen's done.
Yeah.
And you generally don't have to make that screen again. And now you can run it if you want. If not, low cost failure in comparison.
Yeah. Especially.
I think I kind of really like that.
Well, yeah. And in a business like we talk shirt ideas all the time, to be able to make a couple, try them out, let your staff rock them, wear them, see, the feedback from them and from customers and be like, all right, this one's a hit. Or be like, this one missed. Like
for sure.
We're always in business. I hate math, but I've gotten really good at business math because you're just always running kind of numbers in your head of like, what is the best value for my dollar spent? And this is one of those things where that niche kind of came into play of like, man, if I do small runs of stuff, that not selfishly was for me, but it's going to help other people as well.
Yeah.
And now we are working to do big runs of stuff too.
Yeah.
But I've even capped that at like 200 pieces because I'm like, if I'm going to do any more than that, then I'll just contract it out. I have a contract printer. So it's definitely, and it took me a minute to figure out where that line stops as well. So,
yep. Yeah. And I know a thing or two about that from when I did the shirts within the Army.
And that was, again, when this kind of first came around, you're like, I did that.
Yep.
Like I was like, really? All right, cool. And tell me what you know.
And to be honest, if I wasn't going into franchising now, I would have maintained it and kept rolling with that. I have connections to my units and everybody that I worked with since, for me, it didn't replace now going to do this and building stores, as we know how much goes into that now. I'm happy with that decision. And again, then it's a great thing that actually now you can actually pick up on. Yep. So it's still 1 degree of separation away, you could say.
Yeah.
But I learned a ton doing that. And that was a cool thing too. I did it just to show the guys, the young guys around me. We found a gap in the market. It was a niche opportunity.
Yep.
And that you can do it.
Yeah.
I think all in I maybe started that business with like $2,000 to $4,000 just on like legit the first run, some design stuff.
Yeah.
Getting a little stuff together in my time. That was it. I'm like, cool. And then it worked for like 3 years straight. And I just had extra cash flow here and there. And then in Afghanistan, that really did good, which was awesome. But it was a fun thing that it did work good.
Yeah.
It was profitable, filled the need. And, you know, so when I see you do this, obviously we talked through this before. Yeah, totally. Cause you have the space for it. You can do it.
Yeah.
Skylar's super artistic and
Well,
can
and
rock with stuff.
This has been on my back burner for years, going back to like, I even digging out Christmas stuff. I found one of my old like heat presses. So it's not like a new idea, but it's, you know, as you kind of navigate doing what we do, you find other ideas, franchising, things that become more
And timing.
in timing.
Timing is different because you didn't have the space you had.
I didn't.
Even when we started talking.
Yeah.
Until a year ago.
Yep.
Or maybe a year and a half.
Yeah, we got that space.
Yeah, maybe
it
just
was
about
like
a year.
October. Yeah, October of 23.
Yeah,
I think
okay,
is when
yeah.
we got that space.
Around
So
a
yeah,
year.
yeah,
And then now the timing's different. That's right. Right
Yep.
after Tinley, I wouldn't franchise. I wasn't ready for that.
yeah,
Then the timing was right.
sure.
Right.
And then I found my buddy Brian, who owns Stay Lucky Tattoo. He's like, hey man, I got this big basement in this tattoo shop. I was like, cool. You want to do screen printing? He's like, I do. And then we collabed on stuff. So again, it's that you keep it in your group. You're like, cool, I got this stuff set up. I now bring another artist essentially into the mix. You know, it fills a need for him because he's in the same boat. I need stuff for, you know, clients to buy and staff and all that kind of stuff. So it's all about, you never know, you know. And again, talking to Brian, I knew he wasn't going to be like, that's a dumb idea, you know, like, so that goes back to that, to circle all this back. It goes back to talking to your friend group that you've kind of built and trusted and, you know that, oh, hey, and they start to see you do stuff that is successful, and that group kind of grows a bit.
Yep.
And it's almost like, you know, like even with you with building this and saying the things you've said and holding yourself accountable, it's like, well, fuck, he did it, you know? So now that accountability's been had, and now you have credentials. You've kind of built this, you know.
Oh, the credentials are pretty solid now. If they
Right.
weren't before.
Yeah.
I actually think they're better now.
Of course.
For sure.
But and it's almost like building your personal credit, you know, on your
100%,
business, you know, your business friendship credit, we'll call it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you know, like people.
My resume would be like, click on my Instagram, come to our stores.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. That's, you know.
Yeah.
same.
I was actually thinking about changing my LinkedIn. So when I got out of basic training, I had like a PR lady be like, oh, I do LinkedIn. And I was never on LinkedIn and shit. And I
Yeah. Same.
wrote it, and it was as somebody else would write it.
Yeah.
You know? And I legitimately now, looking at who I look up to, I want to be like, yo, I do some cool shit, you know, check my shit out.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
I mean,
Because it's just written in like not a me type of way.
Yeah.
And it was good for the time. And I thought, oh, LinkedIn, look at my nice LinkedIn.
right.
Dude, our resumes are life, dude.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
How you show up and how you do things, to me, would probably speak 10 times more than anything I fucking read on your resume or paper, because anybody can write that shit or write it for you, in
Right.
my case.
Yeah. Well, and now even, I talk to my kids and they're like, oh, there's AI. ChatGPT.
dude,
and,
ChatGPT is awesome,
like,
though.
You know, like, all
But you
this-
can't have it write anything.
Yeah.
You
And
sound fucking
and that's what
Michael Jordan.
they're doing. You know, they're like,
For
oh,
sure
yeah.
people are.
Like,
Yeah.
but you can't replace experience and knowledge and
Yeah.
and results.
Yeah. You can't fake like good service when you come into the store, or how good Orland looks.
Yeah.
Right. You can't fake it.
Nope.
There's a big difference there. And that's actually what I love more. So like, go look what I did.
Right. No, well, and,
Yeah.
and it's a testament too of people I've talked to. I'm sure people have told you, you know, they're like, yeah, Orland's Orland tastes just like Payless. Like, that's amazing to me, you know, because you guys make everything by hand, you know, like there's a human element there. It's, you know,
human element with human error and human tendencies and differences for sure. Actually, one of the main things I think that I can say getting to that point of making sure that is, because that wasn't without hiccups and headaches to get it there, no doubt. But is if you can tie people to that vision, which is sort of what we're talking about here, you can generally then have faith in your team that whatever you want to happen is going to happen because it's tied into a mutually beneficial thing or like a core common good, holistic goal, right? If I didn't tie people in, we're like, yo, y'all can own a franchise someday or like take this journey with me. Like it'd be cool. Like they'll earn their paycheck and stuff and that'd be cool. Except for even like to Brandon, the kid that helped you last time, like, hey man, next couple months, if you keep doing good, you know, in a year from now or something, dog, there's probably a store for you somewhere, you know, if that's the case, or even if it's 2 or 3 years out, just, you know, for whatever.
And I think that's from an outsider looking in, the core staff you have around you. And I've kind of seen them, I guess, come up a little bit, you know, some of the,
you know,
have.
Like,
cause we talk staffing and people and,
well, the first podcast we probably did was before Malcolm even, but it was more like, I think the bigger progression you may have seen and maybe not seen it quite yet even is Gabe, of course, which we've talked about
for sure.
But it is kind of like you will get to see it more and more play out. Even Edie, how she came in through Carlos and like very interesting to actually see that.
Yeah. Again, how that 6 degree separation of a friend group,
crazy.
You know, you got a heavy hitter. She got a,
that's the trust though, right? If you said, oh, you actually have, right? There wasn't a spot for Steve.
Right? Oh yeah. Steve. Yeah.
Quite yet. Right. As we got built, we had a lot of good players, luckily. So it wasn't quite time for it yet, but that trust that's there, like, yo, next step in, that's a need. Like I already know, like it's time to reignite that conversation, see what's there.
For sure.
Because I trust it. Same thing like I trusted Carlos or whoever from our close people would bring somebody in or give somebody to you. Dude, you can't hire for that.
No.
That's why Edie was such a gangster. Like, yes.
Yeah.
Carlos knew. I mean, that was 10 years ago. He knew. She was like, cool, let's check this out. We sat down and it was boom. A 3-hour interview for making sandwiches. The most it was the best first interview, non-typical thing we've done, but it had that thing there because of the connections on both sides. And
what's amazing, your team is in it for that end goal. They're not in it for that, I'll get paid on Friday. Or, you know, like you can just see the key players, they're in it. Like you've built this, you know, this place for them where everybody's, hey, we're all working together for this really big obtainable goal of things that we're going to get to do and things we're going to get to be a part of. And it's pretty impressive, really. Like, you know, like
well, it's a two-way street because they have to trust in me and I have to trust in them.
Right.
They have to trust in me to go ahead and do those bigger things to make it happen. I have to trust them to execute on the things today and assist me with the bigger things because I surely cannot do it myself.
Right.
All of us have found out you can only grow your single business doing the thing yourself to X amount. Now it could be good for sure. And it was good for a long time, even for both of us actually.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
But I mean, we only have so many hours and so many hands to do that.
I have Dana who runs my office and my phones and deals with all my crazy customers all season long. And she's amazing. And I'm super grateful for, you know, everything she does and everything, you know, like people, you know, my customers love her and like, oh, she's so great. And I tell everybody like, I couldn't do what I do without her. And it's tough in business. We talk about that risk and that fear and the fuck it, you know, right? Like, and we've had this kind of like, oh, I need to hire somebody, but I'll just do everything myself or what, like,
I've been there.
You're never going to grow doing that.
Especially not at the rate you want to.
Correct. No,
yeah, no fucking way.
And you'll plateau because you're one person. You can only do so much.
Or get burned out because I've been there too.
Yep. Same. So it is super important to find staff to be able tell them where you want to go with things, where you see them. And it's not in a sense of like a, horse and carrot kind of thing. It's like, look, man, this is where this is going. Like, come along for the ride. I want you with me. I need your skill set. And when people feel valued and people are, like I said, I tell Dana all the time too, like, I'm super grateful. Like, thank you, and there's earnest there. You get that in return, and it is that two-way street
for sure.
And
you can't replace that, especially when it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
No even dollar amount, I would say, maybe up until an extreme amount, but probably not even there, replaces the togetherness or the contribution from everybody equally and tied to the same goal and going there together. Mm-hmm. You can hire for some positions, but I don't think you'll get the same result unless you give a lot of people some upside in things, and trust and respect, and then get out of their way and let them help you and do what they do.
Yep. When we built the suites, Skylar and I sat down and we were kind of, what's going to kind of set us apart other than the whole aesthetic and vibe and all that kind of stuff. It was, we've been successful in business. We really want to make these, these people we're collabing with successful as well. So we do, there's always shop talk. There's always, where are you at with your business?
So actually maybe the shop talk part, let's call that the same thing that we do, right? In the back when we're not busy.
Yes.
That's where the intangibles that maybe don't go onto the reporting, doesn't go onto the P&L, that are what's missing when a lot of people say, you're successful because of, there's a lot we talk about even right now that doesn't end up on a balance sheet,
right,
or end up in the bank right today.
Yeah.
But they are probably just as important. Maybe I might argue more important to build the things you can't track and don't have metrics for to get you there.
Yes.
Because everybody can balance a P&L or control inventory, let's say. It's kind of easy. It's kind of standard. There's a whole other part, which is people building, communication, respect, understanding.
Right.
Because everybody's different too. So like the people you have renting, each one of them have slightly different goals.
Yep.
They may think slightly differently. They actually do a different thing.
Yep.
You have to balance that, listen and understand it, and still do all of those other things with it. For each one. And
in our minds, in our case, similar, slightly different, but similar, the more successful they are, the more they're likely to want to grow with us of like, hey, we're outgrowing this space. Cool. We're going to build another one of these. Let's make you the feature for this space. What do you want in a space?
They're your franchisees that run the salon suites, right? They get the biggest one or whatever, and then they manage it. Yeah, fuck yeah. 100% yes.
That's the new.
Yes, 100%.
You hit it nail on the head.
Perfect.
Where this is looking to go is to take, these already entrepreneurs that have their own successful businesses, but maybe have kind of plateaued in what they're doing because they're owner operators, small. Okay, well, how can we grow this for you? If you're happy there, great, cool. Like, how can we keep you happy there? But if you have that drive, if you have the fuck it, how can we help you get, to a better place?
It's the promoting and growing from within. Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yep.
I think it's the best business model. I think it's the best growth model. For us, it's the easiest for me to do that. I've already invested in you with training and time and knowing you and communication. Let's do it together.
Yep.
Why do I need it? I can bring an outside person. That'll play a part here and there for us too.
Sure.
But when you have that like this, you already know them, trust them, understand them, they can do a bigger thing.
Yeah.
Why repeat that process?
And it's that two-way street. They know us. They trust us. They've seen
where you and Skylar and like how Alex and I are, you don't get that everywhere. With that kind of either landlord or business owner or someone you're renting from, right? That's my main point with kind of all of this, especially franchising. You get us because we're not that big corporate giant, right? Now, I'll do some corporate things because I have to, but it's going to be much different, much more collaborative, much more together.
Yep.
You guys being cool and rogue and understanding, probably much different than a salon suite absentee owner person.
Yeah.
That's cookie cutter. How do I no? Your guys' vibe and energy is so different. That I think is the main selling point.
Yes. And I don't, from what we've heard and talked to people, there are a lot of salon suites. They're large. People are like, I don't want to be in a building with 30 other people doing what I do. It's loud. Like we don't want that. Like,
And all different energies and too many.
And there's too many. And then there's, then there's 30 different people, they're different clientele running around,
and then you are just a number too.
and you're just a number. And then, there's an owner to that, and you're just kind of lost in the shuffle, and, rent's due on the first and whatever. And that's not, again, it goes back to the niche. Well, we kind of built something smaller, tighter, good group, so that's what's important. And now, they all kind of tell their friends in the industry, like, hey man, something's kind of going on here, and it sparks that, that shop talk. And that's what you want. You always want that, you don't want that sinking ship feeling. You want everybody on board, everybody bailing out at the same time, like everybody's bailing water. We're all in this together. Like whatever happens in work or in the business or whatever, it's, we're all in this together.
Yeah. That's the kind of cool part for us now. And that's the part I hope to never lose until we sell, right? There's going to be a tipping point where it kind of gets bigger.
Sure.
Right. And I know that for me, and I don't like that version.
Yeah.
But currently everyone is kind of all in, minus getting through the headaches in the beginning and really learning things through. I do see now, especially since our last sit down, like I told you, went very well. When you have everybody contributing, and I'm talking about staff and franchisees kind of, and everything, right? When you have that, it feels really good, and you can do a lot together, more together than you can separated. That was kind of my theme of this last meeting we had, was like, yo, we could really crush this shit. Stop the silly shit.
Right.
Let's just talk it through and get on the same page and understand. And then it's like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do the whole time.
Yeah.
Right. Until the 25 or whatever we do, to not lose that. Cause I think that's the differentiating factor. And that's what I like.
Yeah.
I don't want to do the shit that I don't like or be involved in things. We'll do parts of the stuff we don't like.
Right.
But.
Well, and you keep building that team. That team tells their friends, And
that's already happened.
Those franchisees tell their friends, more people want to get involved, or those franchisees will be like, I want another store now,
Yep.
like, which I think has already happened too.
Yep.
So you get everybody on board for that common goal. And you take care of those people along the way. That's huge.
That's the main thing. And that's my build now, is making sure that continues, and how to do that effectively.
Yeah.
Then how does each store do that effectively too? Cause that's how they can maintain.
Right.
They're great people.
Right.
We have an article coming out, somebody did, that talks about why they began with us, why they came in with us, and then learning Alex and I was one of the main lines that I loved so much about the article, was that people can come from an entry level. Let's use Gabe as an example. Come from an entry level, get into a nice management position or the corporate team.
Yep.
And then like low key, I'd probably back, I would say 4 or 5 of our people right now. If they were like, yo, I'm kind of serious, I'd love to do my own store, bet.
Right.
So you can take that all the way. Now you can actually be a physical owner, and then maybe multiple.
Right.
Or from the franchisees themselves, they like the system, the process, right? Nick liked the numbers. Boom, this works. You could do another.
Right.
Well, that's growth for everybody.
Yes.
Right. This is surely not just for me, right? Orland's will do better for Orland owners than it will for me. Cumulative, it'll be good for me. But like, yo, that's all that's.
Well, it takes some of that, when you have staff, we kind of early on, we kind of talked about it, there's a worry, there's an anxiety of like, oh, I got to take care of all these
for
people.
sure.
Like these people got bills and stuff, like they're all looking at me. But when you get everybody on the same page like that, it just makes it way easier. It takes some of that anxiety away of like, oh no, they get it. They're in it. They're in the trenches with me. They see the payout, and they're going to take advantage of that payout, and they're going to be able to have these opportunities that they wouldn't have had. It really subdues some of that,
Yeah. I'm not saying what I like to say, like same kind of opportunities you're going to bring to your people that are with you now. as you grow. I kind of paint the picture of from where we came from to where we're going and my come up and like how it relates to them and all that. I'm not saying we're the best option ever, but there isn't many other places right now or that you could just kind of go to that'll give you a real big trajectory or an upside to follow and an actual thing that you can go into right now and just take that ride.
Right.
If you can, it's usually 20 or 30 years into something. Or it may not ever happen at all because the business just isn't in that position to grow or they've already grown. And so you're going into it like a UPS or FedEx or something, or even Amazon.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of these management roles filled. Yeah. Unless you have a degree or some technical skill, like it's going to be hard not to. That's where the restaurant space is super cool.
Right.
And I really want to promote this as we grow, that it actually has super upside with little to no training. Or even if it is, there's not a huge barrier to entry to get into the space and or crush it in the space.
Well, it's kind of the draw to people. We kind of saw some of it when we were doing the Shark Tank stuff. There's a draw to food trucks for people taking all the licensing and all the stuff you need, put that off to the side. But there's people like, I want to do something for myself. I want to be in charge of my future and my destiny. I don't want to ride the corporate ride. What can I do? I like food. I it might be a ethnic thing, or they see a need in the market for it, and be like, if I put a truck together, it's way cheaper than a brick and mortar, but at least it starts that ball.
We should do a ghost kitchen space where every food truck uses that space and rents out time.
Yes.
We set the commercial kitchen.
It's the salon suites of the restaurant.
You've had a couple bangers today, huh, dude?
It's
the salon suites of restaurants.
It's basically like here.
Okay, I don't want to say that too loud because somebody might steal that idea.
That's true. We can fix this in editing.
Super good idea.
Yeah.
Even here, Chicago, probably a really good idea, but for sure in other markets with more food trucks, now their barrier to entry is gone without a brick and mortar store. You contract with us. Your time slot is Monday, 8 to 10 a.m. This is when you can prep, load, everybody's out your way.
Yep.
Oh.
Say we even get a building. You get a space to park your truck. You get your own freezer space, storage space, and then we have a massive
lawn spot.
Prep. Yeah. There you go. Done and done.
This pause is it's cooking, right? Let that man cook.
Yep. Or even Bedford Park. They got buildings in Bedford Park. They like you in Bedford Park. Just saying.
So usually Sundays I don't do anything. So after I get done editing this, tomorrow Sunday is probably going to go to a lot of that.
Yep.
Because food trucks are a good, great entry-level option.
Yes.
A quarter of what you might spend on a full build out. But you would if you were going to start, you'd have to do that and a truck.
Or how about you come to us and it's a one-stop shop? I'll build you the truck. We'll provide you the space. We'll teach you basics. We'll talk to event promoters so that they're calling us. And, saying,
and we know what good events are or not.
And exactly.
Yeah. That was actually a cool thing. It looks to be next year, because we did a lot. And actually, so there was like 13 that we won't do again.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That was a lot of run for the truck that barely broke even. 3 did not. 3 lost money.
Sure.
The other 9 barely broke even. Yeah. And that was me being generous to myself. But then you left with the really good ones. So now you are actually profitable, running efficiently. For us, we're using it differently. Yeah. Somebody else can, would want more and all that.
But
we've done
feedback,
that part.
Yeah.
That then contributes too.
Yeah.
Because I've long thought about like, dude, for the systems and processes I made, like that's a blueprint that I could sell easily. Right. To like Buzz, right? Yeah. Someone early on in their business or that needs a change or that's shifting hands that needs to do the next thing. But that though, actually, so it's all encompassing to be quite honest. One, check out what we built.
Right.
It's the best food truck out there. And so here's some feedback. We probably talked about it early that we liked it, but now with all the feedback, low key, we built, I would say, one of the best trucks in the Chicagoland. And you could put that up against anybody for all of the reasons specific to us, it is the best truck, but against the market, for sure, one of the best trucks. The best compliment that I think me and Brad could have had is when other food truck operators asked to come up on ours to see it. Or other people that want to do a food truck at these events were like, that's the one I want to do. How'd you do that? And we give them a tour of the food truck. Easy, but it's not. So like, we know what it took to get it there. Not simple, even though it was simple, but incredibly effective. And that right there says, okay.
Well, and now we have, one of the greatest compliments of the truck was like, hey, we ran it for a season. It still looks like the day it does after it was built, which was kind of like, as you build these, you're like, and I can put stuff together, but I never really built a food truck. I had an idea, but
and then Rip's the best one.
And then like okay, cool. Yeah. This does work this way. This is super feasible, and we did it. What I think is just super smart. It wasn't like, hey, here's 120 grand. We're just going to put together this truck. It was how can we do this so it makes sense to kind of fill this niche again, and then where the numbers work for it. And now, like I said, if we did it in such a quick time frame, we could probably do it even quicker.
Well, especially if you're contracting it out, dude.
And there's not much more to change, so.
No, I think it's great. I 100% know. And the restaurants are, for whatever reason, our market seems to always be growing, whether it's a new concept or brands expand. Food isn't going anywhere, but specifically the Chicago market's known for the food. I don't love our winter season, but Chicago is well known for food and food trucks. I thought I was late to the party kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. We did festivals for 10 fucking years or longer.
It'd be an important topic to talk, because the amount of business ideas I come up with, I'm like, that's kind of already been done. Where I instinctively feel late to the party. It's interesting you say that, because you're like, yeah, food trucks have been done. Like, why would I, at this point, why would I do this? Well, fuck it,
Oh, we found out why.
And yeah. Well, there you go.
And with those adjustments, so each business, I always say, takes 1 to 3 years, then you'll be successful, or go away. Then you kind of figure it out. And although it was not the same as the store, in some ways better, some ways worse, we were not late to the party. If you are good and perhaps different, now you should be good. You don't have to be different, but if you are good and or have just a generally good idea to go to the market, you're never late, right? So like, if you're a really good, painter, well, there's a hell of a lot of painters. If you build a good reputation, have some good Google reviews, and be consistent, that will start to turn. Well, you're not late to the party.
Right.
Like, okay, you are late to the party, but not really.
Right. Does
that make any sense?
It does. Yeah. Because even in my business, if somebody was like, hey, I want to be a sprinkler guy. And I did actually have somebody reach out and was like, hey, I'm a plumber, but I think, I see this niche. And he wasn't from this exact area. And he's like, can I come talk to you? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Come hang out. And we kind of ran through a bunch of stuff, and it was cool to have somebody come down and do that. And one of the things he said, he's like, well, it's just like an oversaturated market. It's like, it is, but there's companies that drop off every year because people aren't consistent. People don't answer their phones. People don't hold themselves accountable. They don't have good Google reviews. So it's interesting you say that, because it does kind of take away that, like, okay, so here's this business idea I have. That market seems pretty saturated, but I know what I can bring to the table with consistency, and that's the change.
That's where you win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody can bring something to the market and look cool, or build a food truck even, but how will they execute that long term, or even short term to begin in the season? So like, we were super meticulous. One, because it was building into franchising, and we've been around a long time, and I'm meticulous, and I want to have the highest standard possible. People will fall off, not be able to maintain it. Don't do all of the things. Like, keep it clean. It seems so simple, but we saw some that were not.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's our differentiating factor then, right? So service, look, cleanliness. So great, clean, fast, fun. Because then at the events, we're cool, chopping it up,
Yep.
doing that thing with customers inside and with the other vendors.
Yeah.
Well, we did that because other people weren't.
And that's a massive, look at that shop talk, right? So now you have a whole event of people collaborating with you, talking with you.
Correct. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And we initiated that with a lot of people, which was really cool. But that's what I had done years ago because I was like, dude, if we're going to be doing all this shit, working way more and stuff, let's make it fun.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, so 4 metrics, great, clean, fast, fun. If it doesn't meet one of those, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
It should meet all of them, but fun is in there for a reason. You want to be able to like what you do.
Yeah.
You should, at least in some parts. There's plenty of things I don't like to do.
Well, yeah.
But overall, it's pretty decent.
There's it's funny. I was talking to my daughter. I was like, when I get up every day, there's a moment of almost like internal pep talk of like, what are we going to do today? And fun has to be a part of that, or at least there has to be a nugget of, like, let's say for me, it's a day of like estimates and office work and whatever, which for somebody like me is just hell, like that's not an end of the business that I enjoy, but you have to do it. So you get up and you kind of have to give yourself a pep talk, but you got to find some nugget in your day of fun or something enjoyable.
Yeah. Well, luckily you get to do that either, maybe when Skylar's around.
Yep.
Okay. Right. So that's cool
100%.
because she's a business owner also, and it's your wife. So we get the luxury of being very close
Yes.
with our wives to do that in our family. So that's cool. So that's kind of a built-in one that I like, that when I need that from that an hour I've been working on it. All right, let me break this up a bit. Hey, what you working on?
Right.
What's got going on
Yeah.
over there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I would assume maybe coming to do a job like this, you get customer interaction.
Yes.
And then you hear like how we started talking, the Chevelle or the Harley.
Yep.
Now you're like, oh, okay, cool. That's the nugget.
Yep.
Okay, cool. That made this fucking plumbing toilet job
Yeah. No,
not so bad.
And then when you start to build repeat business, it's kind of weird. You're like, oh, I get to hang out with this customer today. Like I'm sure for you, certain customers walk in, you're like, oh, hey, like it just kind of changes that vibe of the day.
Like yesterday, Art, shout out Art Clark, savage ass dude, just got back from Antarctica and brought me a keychain, a magnet, and a sticker. But why he got him was the guy who did an expedition there in like 1903 or 1923. He was like, hey, you guys are both gutsy. Like,
sure.
bro's just thinking on that
right.
level. So it's such a cool interaction. And he's now retired world traveler. He was a former fucking Marine special operations, so MARSOC guy.
Yeah.
Iraq and Afghanistan, came a police commander. When he got back, got his Juris Doctor's lawyer fucking degree. Not to be a lawyer, but just to be better in the police force.
Yeah.
So super accomplished, very, very smart. Now he just travels the world, completely tatted up all the way to his head.
Nice.
You would never know where he came from. You would think probably prison.
Yeah.
The complete opposite savage dude.
Interesting.
That's the customer. That's like, when he comes in, he's brought me things, volcanic rock, something from the Field of Dreams, something from Antarctica. He gave me Normandy D-Day sand. When I was deployed, he sent me a polar bear suit and said, wear this to raise the morale of your guys. Put this fucking polar bear suit on and be a tactical polar bear in Afghanistan. Because when you're deployed, you got to bring some cheer to people. Right? So like, yeah. And like across from St. Michael or something he sent me when I was there that he had and he wore. Like, bro, what?
Yeah.
Because he was just a customer.
Yeah. And we talked about repeat customers, some like this 24 year, next year's going to be my 25th year doing this. I've seen people's pets come and go, their kids grow up and leave, it's kind of wild to get to do what I do. And there's people you've just kind of built a slight rapport with. It's like, hey man, that's a cool car, it's a cool bike or whatever. And it turns into this whole crazy thing of your customers become friends. And that's how in business, you've done something right, because you don't view them as a number or a metric or a dollar sign. It's your buddy Art, like that's
It's really interesting how that happens. And you don't know when it's going to happen or how.
right.
For sure, you don't. But when you actually give good service and care, it actually happens.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah. It is pretty easy. And it's actually really good. And it's a sustainable business model even.
Yeah.
And then it turns into things like this also.
Yeah.
Right? Why wouldn't you do that?
I was a Peppo's customer before we really even knew each other.
Yeah, far
you know?
before I realized anything or knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and Skylar tells a story a lot, you know, like she's told it yesterday when we were at Peppo's, you know, like she had Alex's hair and Alex brought her guts.
Yeah,
And
like
she came
8
home.
years ago.
Yeah. She came
or something.
home with the guts. And
Yeah.
I was like, where'd you get those? She's like, oh, you know, it's a client, you know, owns Peppo's. Do you know what that is? I was like, yes, I know what that is.
Yeah.
But yeah, small world.
And that's the cool thing, because you don't know who is who knows who, or who's done business with you before,
Right.
Or who's done business with you before, now does business with your wife. We'll treat people good. It's a good business model.
Yeah.
Okay. Do your best, talk to people and care. And then years later, it actually works out really good when you build a dope ass food truck.
Yep. There you go.
And that's the intangibles that doesn't show up at the balance sheet.
No. There you go. Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story on that real quick. Last Sunday, maybe? I don't know. Again, I don't know what day it is, but we'll say last Sunday. We went to the Tinley Park, had their little Christmas downtown market thing. I know this happens to you and Alex. Like, whenever Skylar and I go somewhere, it's inevitable we bump into like some of our customers.
Yep.
So we were, you know, walking, they had these little booths or whatever, and one of Skylar's customers was at the booth. Her husband happened to be one of my commercial customers. It was just the craziest, like...
And you guys didn't know?
Had no idea.
Awesome.
You know, like...
That's how it
you know,
works.
Skylar's like, oh, hey, that's one of my customers.
There it
And then
is.
her husband was like, Brad? I was like, hey, you know, like it's...
That's how it works.
And that's how you transcend that customer business, and you do the good things, and people remember that, and remember, you know, like they remember your name. They remember, you know, things about you. When they see your branding or your tub of guts, you're like, oh shit, where'd you get that?
That's the part I'm trying to teach the franchisees.
Yeah.
That's the part I want them to get at its essence.
Mm-hmm.
So from the beginning, when them coming in or even filling out the application,
Yeah.
it starts there.
Yep.
Of who we are and how we do these things. Because that is the intangibles. That part is what I need to maintain the whole entire time. So like Matt Jamal over there, the Orland Park firefighter one, he's very good at that. That's kind of his role in there. Energetic, same mindset, in the community, already has that rapport.
Yeah.
He gets that part, and that's what he's doing and working on. You know, it might be one of the most important parts. Everybody can follow a system and follow a recipe.
Right.
That's kind of cool. You could do that, but any business can do that. What most people can't do is get into the community or stay in front of the customer, engage, connect, and do exactly what we talked about right there.
Yep.
He wants to, and he likes that part.
Yeah.
Yes. And he's been very good so far at doing that.
Yeah.
If we can do those things, same thing you do, same thing I do, same thing my dad did, what he is now doing, that is sustainable business. And it's just the right thing. And generally, karma is a big fucking thing, a big deal. It works out pretty good.
Yeah.
If you do the right things.
It's the consistency of it. You know, you're in the store, or you're there already. Talk to people.
Yeah.
You know, like how many, you know, even on my end, like there's business owners that aren't involved in the field or out and about. And, you know, my guys see it too. You know, they'll go to somebody's house. We go, where's Brad? You know, and so I try and make it a point to, you know, try and circle back to those people somewhere along the way in the season so that, you know, we don't lose that rapport with them.
Yep.
So that's the, you know, in your case, you know, it's join the local chamber, make friends, you know, go to different functions.
I did that for 10 years.
Yeah.
And again, I swear it's something that you can't track because they come over a long period of time. They'll come not tomorrow, not when you make the connection tomorrow necessarily.
Yep.
Then when you put enough of those things in line, now it revolves around
Yep.
each other. You can't track that shit, but you know it.
Right.
You're saying it. I'm saying it. I read it in books, my mentors, whatever. I now know it to be 100% factual that I could probably have a list of 10 things that will never show up in a trackable metric, or that you know when they happen, especially now with two different stores. I don't know when. I didn't even know you went there yesterday and we were going to meet and hang out today.
Yeah.
You know, that's when it starts to show up. Those are the things I want to teach. And maybe even say more important, look, we can look at your P&L and I can tell you your payroll's high. Who the fuck out? Everybody can.
Right.
It should be 30% or under. Yours is 40. Change it.
Right.
Like, come on, man. That doesn't take no skill.
Right.
However, the part that does is what do we do all the other times?
Right.
Yeah. Or all the time.
All the time.
Actually.
Yeah.
Those things, deserve some sort of, I don't know if it's a business class or some sort of more importance than what a business class or somebody would teach that you only get through experience and are talking to people who do the same thing. They're like, yo, this works. We should do more of that.
So I'll give anybody who's listening or watching a quick nugget. What I tell and you've heard me tell kids this that come to us and want to do small service-based businesses. How to grow it on Facebook is you basically take your business, you join every Facebook neighborhood group you can, Moms of Manuka. It doesn't matter. Wherever you're at, whatever
I'll join that one today.
There you go. Any Facebook group, and then you engage, right? It takes time. You have to do it. In fact, I just told the people that I was kind of working with that I had mentioned earlier that they're looking for a different path. I was like, this is how you do what you need to do. But it might take two of you to do this because it does take a lot of work. All you got to do is comment. People are going to be like, hey, where's a good place to eat? Comment as your business, whatever it is. A and B power washing, whatever. So comment. Be like, hey, man, we really love Peppo's or we really love whatever, this Mexican place or whatever. Don't push your business down people's throats, but engage in a community. And you can do it now electronically. That's my point. It's through these neighborhood groups, you can, somebody be like, hey, man, my dog's loose. You can be like, hey, I'm in the area. We'll go look. A&J Power Washing, right? Whatever, And eventually people are going to start to correlate like, hey, I see this guy.
Trusted.
I don't know who he is, but I see him and he just comments and he's not forcing his business. You can occasionally throw business posts in or whatever. But inevitably what happens is people are going to be like, well, I don't need to eat Mexican, but I need my shit power washed.
Yep.
I'm going to click on this guy and I'm going to send him a message because he was nice enough to help out. That's how you can quickly grow that trust and become part of a community using social media.
Yep.
And it works really, really well.
You should do both.
Yes.
In person and on social.
Yes.
I don't want anyone to argue which one's more important. Do both because you can.
Yep.
Until you establish your business. Like for me now, I'm passing those things off a bit, but I did it for 10 years,
right.
Or maybe 15 years. I don't know. And now it does transition to social. So that's kind of like an Ethan role right now, but it is the local marketing that we are telling the franchisees to do.
Yeah.
Yo, use your page. I'll do ours, like you're saying, right?
Yep.
Use yours also to get up in there. So then when it is something for you to drop, you can put it in and share it.
Yep.
Or reshare our stuff so it doesn't look like it's just generically coming from me because I will not over market to people. Right. I will not over advertise. It was actually a sticking point with our franchisees. They're like, well, we should do more. I want to see this. And I'm like, be careful with the more part because you could unfollow really quickly when it feels regurgitated or the same as everybody else or not as authentic mom and pop anymore.
Right.
You're gone. You've lost the local or hyper local market.
Well, and the way the algorithms work is people have to engage with you to keep seeing your stuff.
Is everything.
So if you flood their feed, people naturally they stop engaging because they're like, well, I'll just see the next one. They
and
post
it actually
every day.
makes you show up to less people then too because Facebook's like, oh, people aren't engaging. They may still see it, but now you've done yourself a double disservice. Yes.
Wild, right? Yeah.
No, well, not to us, but yes.
Again, it's so if you don't know, in business, you never want to oversaturate and that's why I tell people to engage in this way because your page is there and you're just helping out the community. You're essentially just commenting on posts.
It's so easy for people though to post and post again and be like, oh, I have to do it. Well, maybe this one. Yes, maybe on TikTok, or X.
Yeah.
You can kind of do that more, and that's our plan. Is what we would do. Post more here, way less on Facebook, but way better on Facebook. They're all different, by the
Yep.
way, right? Even Instagram and Facebook being on the Meta, both being Meta, they're different, and we will treat them differently, but very different from TikTok.
Yes.
Very different than X, right? And we need to engage on X with more text and engagement. And so, like, our plan now, here's a nugget, is using the Peppo's X platform and being in industry talk.
Okay.
So talking in restaurant.com has a good profile. They're putting stuff out, engaging in comments. Boom, 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 boom. Mm-hmm. By text, though, I'm not putting sandwiches out and reels of people dancing with sandwiches and shit.
Right.
But now the brand is engaging in our market, in real talk that we have actual contribution to. But now we're going to become that regular revolving thing. So, like, follow 10 different people. These are our higher ones we want to engage with all the time that have a lot of traction.
Right.
And maybe we will too, and become this person's always in here talking shit,
right,
or answering stuff. Boom. So we have these different strategies, and it doesn't show up today. So they're like, Facebook, I didn't see a post this week. You know, one of the things was I didn't say Happy Thanksgiving on Facebook. And we talked about this also. Don't worry, we already talked about this, guys. Everyone did. And when I logged on to think about doing it, I saw 50.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, mine's lost in the shuffle, and our engagement will go down. So I'm not going to post it because it's not going to be as much, and our next one will be better.
Yes.
So I didn't. But you got to understand the whole thing or have a trust built in.
Right.
Which, I mean, now as soon as I explain most things, it makes sense because I don't do things like everybody else. Right. So, you know, from a traditional looking at it standpoint, it doesn't seem like it makes sense, but it does. Yeah. There wouldn't be a reason why I would do it if it didn't make sense.
Well, and you know, in a case like that, I didn't do any Thanksgiving posts either, you know, or holiday posts, or, you know, like it just gets lost in the
It's
sauce.
what everyone's going to do.
Yeah. You know, like it you know, even for me, like I don't utilize Facebook near where I should because I was thankfully like so busy. You know, it's like you said, be careful what you wish for.
We've had that part more. So it's a good thing. Mm-hmm. But be careful what you wish for.
Because you open those floodgates.
Yeah.
And then, well, I'm not able to handle the workload I have or the staff. You know, what happens when you unleash all of that? It's great. It works. We know how to make it work, but you got to be prepared for it too. That's the other end of that, I guess.
No, that is the other end of it. Not, I guess.
Yeah.
That is what it is. And that is what we felt. And that's where every time that happens, I'm like, I like to be proven right. I do appreciate that,
right,
but I don't need it. Right. So let's just rock with the trust here of what's going to happen. And that was one of the fortunate things. And, you know, this is from them and me, that it did pretty much happen exactly like it should have. Yeah. In all the things that we could control and, you know, thought we would have right. But a lot of it was to be careful what you wish for. And some I gave into, some I did not, and some I will never again give into. That's a known thing built into my fucking etched into my soul of the things I won't negotiate on because of that. Because there's no reason to when you have enough experience. Well, we will save you from what you don't know. This is the point of a franchise. This is the point of trust.
That's the benefit.
It's the benefit of it.
You know, I mean, that's why, you know, like we've talked about, like the beauty of a franchise, especially the way you're doing it is like, this is a proven business model. This is what it takes to get involved in it. This is essentially your, you know, it's a winning platform strategy. That's what makes it so good. So if you're out there and you're kind of lost, you're like, I want to start a business, but there's so many questions I don't know the answers to. That's where franchising is just a genius way to get involved in business and run and do it. And then have that business be successful. And then maybe there's another business you want to do and you want to build it from the ground up. You can then go and do that other business because you now have proven business experience where somebody's paved that way for you.
Yep. And you limit your risk, right? There's risk in everything, even in franchising for sure. But you take a big portion out, that's then the value.
Yeah.
I would pay for that all day long. Like from experience to mentors, to reading books, to now franchising, I would pay for that now again, or to bring somebody in knowledgeable and do something with them, like building the food truck. I would pay for that just for the experience part of it and the limits of the risk rather than do it myself, even if I thought it was an extremely good idea. Because now I think I think it's more just about the limit of the risk. You're never going to know everything about even this. I tried to give them a ton. I can't get out 20 years in the few months we have to lead up to it, or even over these podcasts. But the results are what matters. Go with that and trust the rest of it. Because there's me. First of all, it's Saturday and we're sitting here in the middle of lunchtime. If I don't trust you guys, I'm not doing this.
Right.
I would tell you, Brad, please, let's finish up this water heater. I got to go.
Right.
But I have to trust in you the same as you trust in me.
Yep.
For them to, at both stores now, to do that today in the middle of lunch without me looking at the phone, camera, alarm, text, call, what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And I've known business owners that are that, where they have to micromanage everything, where they're watching cameras nonstop, where they're looking at, looking at, like constantly looking at the numbers of the day and like, oh, we're only here at this point. Like,
I can't do that.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to say it's a rare trait, but it's because you've built this. It goes back to that team we talked about. You don't even think about it, and we've had conversations about employees, and, I've had employees that weren't that great and cost me sleep and stuff at night. And I have employees that are amazing where it's like, when Dana's running my office, I don't think twice about the phones. It's not even a thought in my mind of like, oh, is this getting handled? Is this like, no, she's got it. Like, that's what I pay her for.
Well, there's plenty enough that we're going to think about anyway. Mm-hmm. I don't want to contribute to my own ridiculousness, nor do I want to get caught in things that in general, like I can't control anyway, or don't want to micromanage, or just not be distracted with what I have to do for big goal. Like somebody else should be handling that thing.
Right.
Because if they're not, then let me go back down my system because I fucked up here.
Yeah.
If I got to worry about this over here, I fucked up this back here.
Right.
No.
Yeah. That's a good point, actually.
That's how I think about it, actually. Yeah. Right. No. So, like, if I'm watching Orland's cameras, then I did something wrong with Nick, Matt, and Matt, and then they did something wrong with Brandon, who was there yesterday. Then and so on and so forth down. Well, we could have stopped that way before.
Right.
Which I did, and that's why I actually feel great. Like, actually, most of the people are surprised that I do not watch the cameras. Like, even Edie was like, when you guys open, when we go over there, you're going to. I'm like, nah, fam. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's one of my non-negotiables. Like, I have jumped on. Oh, duh. Like, the first week, I want to make sure you're open and you arrived.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Once the basics are there, the rest should have been handled already.
Yeah.
Or with the team or continuing today. And I didn't. And she's like, "Oh, did you see or were you on?" I'm like, "Nope."
And you'll drive yourself nuts doing that.
You will you will do it. And then, not that maybe. No, you will.
And then you're so focused on that, you're not doing what you're
100%. And I've been there before on certain things I get carried away with. And then I'm like, "Oh, that was dumb," and nothing came of that. So those are some of the few things I won't do.
Yeah.
I try not to micromanage. So here's the balance. Especially with the first franchise. Well, I need to make sure all of those things were in place. So I had to be hyper focused on it all and do most of that. I do not have to now.
Yeah.
The rest of it is me. So like Orland with Brandon, they have their training sheets. Hey, you guys, let me see your training sheets. Who did them? Spot check. They did them. Who's got all their sanitation license and their non-disclosures? Everybody's done. Cool. I see the list. Check in your file. Done. I'm not doing the thing anymore.
Right.
I'm only validating now. So when I get my stamp, boom, stamp that bitch with MFCEO approved or whatever. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So like yesterday, Alex was doing some stuff with Ashley. I came up for like 10 minutes, validate. Cool. Good to go. Those are the things that I do now. That's what I have to do. Higher level stuff because the team can do it now. Right. Now that they've seen this happen, I've done it with the key people now. I've done it physically. Now we validate that it works. You do it.
Right.
Cool. They are.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah. So then now they're ready, right? Yeah. They're ready for the next thing. Yeah. Now that gives me confidence. Like New Lennox, if that goes down, dude, who's up? Who's ready?
When that goes down?
When? Yeah.
Good. When?
And then Ethan with Bedford, which is slow as fuck. They're in a very big hold pattern right now. That's essentially ready, right? I think we're at the 3 move mark of being pretty well ready to execute on that because we're continuing to do those things and I don't have to do the fucking day to day on like micromanage.
Yeah.
Well, not be distracted.
As you've built this team and as everybody's roles change, so does yours. So you're, that's the, I think that's the way as an entrepreneur.
I'm still evolving though. There's still a few things I get pulled away with or get caught up in or used to do. So I'm like, oh, it pains me not to like.
It's tough even for me, like with my guys. So, I go through the schedule every day and kind of dictate where everybody goes. And, and there's certain houses where I look at them and be like, it's just way easier if I go do it, like it's then to try and explain this, but I actually have to catch myself like, well, they're not going to learn. Right. Like if I give them all the easy shit and I just do the hard shit, like they're not going to learn. So you kind of have to send them, be like, with a little time gap of like, hey, you're going to figure this out. Like I can tell you the basics, but until you do it and you're elbow deep in it, you're going to have to figure it out. Call me if you need me.
A lot of my answers are, what would you do?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good.
I make them answer it.
Yeah.
Malcolm is the best, but he's very much in that, like, you're the first sergeant commander. I'm going to bring this to you. And I look, and these days I can just be like, and he'll answer it correctly.
Yeah.
But I have to do that all the way. And with like at least, let's say 6 of our people today that have to get there. What would you do?
Right.
Why don't you do that?
That's a good. God,
it seems so simple.
Yeah.
But I have to do that. If not, I would answer them and then they would be gaps still.
Right. Yeah. When I used to run all the snow stuff, that was always the, just have that mindset, and you can't teach people logistics or just to be able to think through a lot of these things, tasks, day-to-day stuff, things where, but that's such a good way to get them to spark that. Well, this, and then they start to know, well, he's going to ask me. So now I really got to think of, well, what would I do? And it goes back to that. You say, fuck it, make a decision, regardless, you got to make that, whether right or wrong, you got to make that decision and then ride that decision. What
I like to do is be as consistent as possible with what I say, think, and check. So then they're kind of already ahead of it. Okay. So like when I like walk the floor, let's say, when I check, they kind of know what I'm checking. So like, okay, do that. Because he's always going to talk about, is the walk-in organized? Did we call for a sweep? Did we do that?
Yeah.
So now they're doing it. Right. So that's what I'm trying to instill in Orly. Like every time I show up, I'm going to do these things. Like me, this is what my role as corporate is. Well, that means, that must be important. If he's checking those things specifically, good to go.
Right.
Those things are generally all in lock now. So that's kind of my premise for things. Teaching that on repeat. So I do not have to like make it confusing. First of all, it's got to be as simple as possible.
Yeah.
But lock it in for me also so I can be efficient. But so then they know too that it's going to be pretty consistent. They know what I'm looking for. The key points. Great. The rest of it's on you guys. And I have to trust that. It's kind of where we're at today, which is good, I think.
No, for sure. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's interesting on just even the thought process of like, oh, I'm going to hammer these things home to them because they are important. Huh.
And I walk right in and go right to those things.
I think I'm going to, I'm going to steal that.
Fuck yeah, please.
I mean, my guys are, they're good. They do, great thing. They were both new this year. There's massive learning curve or whatever, but there are things that, that I should check more as opposed to harp on more, like kind of like, hey man, I'm gonna check your van. Like I want to make sure it's clean as opposed to being like, clean your van, kind of thing. Yeah.
There you go. So there's the essence of it.
Yeah.
How your delivery matters, your response to the thing matters. And your consistency with it matters. If you tell them once or twice, but then like they know you've seen it fucked up once or twice. So does it matter?
Right.
Like Loki, I'm a little crazy on uniforms and our walk-in and the general cleanliness of the store. Everyone knows that. Yeah. So when I walk in and somebody's hat's not on, I know. I watch them walk in, no hat. 2 seconds later, I see them walk into their hat, putting it on. I know, and I know, I know.
Right.
So we're good. But there you go, because I kept it consistent with everybody, including Alex.
Right.
So I'm like, look, if I don't do it to you, they're going to be like, he's weak. Or like, he ain't going to tell her that. Nah, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I'll deal with that on the back end.
Right. Yeah.
But I have to show them. Right. And so, I mean, that's what it is. And that consistency is what matters. You probably even started this off with that. I think this podcast started with that consistency part. And that's what it is. And that then has to be brand overall consistency. And that's what I try and do.
Yeah.
I can't treat Matt and Nick differently. I can't treat Matt or Matt differently. I can't treat Edie and Malcolm differently than Matt and Nick. They get it all straight up. And I told them this in our fucking meeting. Look, you guys were the first ones. We're learning each other still, but now you know.
Right.
Y'all get the same treatment.
When it goes, just in communication or consistency, it's that, and it makes it easier because then you're not, as this grows and you have more players, now you're not remembering, how do I have to treat this one? How do I have to treat that one? How do I have to treat that one?
100%.
It's just straight up across the board.
That's why I got to tell them like the shit they don't want to hear. And I know now exactly, because I know I'm good now, which one's going to cause a thing. I know how they're going to respond. I know how I'm going to respond, but I have to keep it where it's at because if I don't, then Bedford does something else. They do something. Orland does something. That GM does it this way. That zero. It's none. What I do to my team at Orland is what I do to my team at Payless, is what I will do to Ethan. It is what I do to myself.
Yeah.
I don't have to think about it. Everyone else, got to think about it maybe until they learn it. But that's, for me, the most consistent way for me to keep it efficient for me also, and to know that I did the same thing or what I said is accurate. Yeah.
You have to.
I have to.
Yeah.
To scale, for sure, you have to. But even in your own business today, how you do a water heater is probably the same. The house might be different, but how you're probably approaching it. You knew what to bring. You didn't know if that fucking valve would break. And it fucking did. And you fucking know because you knew.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Because
you show up ready because that's what you do.
Right. Well, and because of that experience of like, fuck, this valve broke. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, well, I got to leave the job and go get another valve and then come back. Well, that's wasted time. So it's not efficient. But yeah, I tend to do everything for somebody that doesn't like repetition, in life and stuff. Like when I work, I do everything kind of the same just because it's efficient.
Well, some things, yes.
Yeah.
We can have the rogue and non-traditional ideas and let that be the catalyst.
Yeah.
But the foundations of these things generally are going to be the same. And that's where I like to be, is that big idea thing while keeping these the same. While keeping these the same allows the big thing.
Yeah.
Cool, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Like I can eat shit on that one and keep that all locked in because I have to do this other thing.
Yeah.
That then is the catalyst.
Yeah.
That's what's worked so far for us. Because I've tried it every other way.
Well, that's it. And I think some of it too is the reason I do and I do it the same because I've done it other ways. And like, this is how I do it.
Yeah, exactly. There's multiple ways to skin a cat, they say, or let's say peel an apple, but there's one really good way.
Yeah.
That's kind of my perspective.
Yeah.
Like, you can cook beef that way. This is the best way though.
Yeah.
So why would you do it that way?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I approach it too.
Yeah.
Is I would like to give them the why of the thing. Sure, I know you could, put cheese on like this, but we do it like this.
Yeah.
Because it's better. Do that every fucking time.
When with plumbing, I'm a service plumber, so I don't do a lot of like new construction or remodel plumbing where I'm like running piping, right? But there's very much that as a young plumber, you can look at, be like, well, I got a plumbing fixture there and I got to connect pipe to there. It's like, well, I can run that way, or I can come down this way. And this, like, you could stand there for an hour, 2 hours, like, and just run this shit 18 different ways in your head and then get yourself all confused. Sometimes you should be like, well, that's the best route. That's what I'm going to do. And then, yeah, that worked. And then you're like, that's how I'm going to do it from here on out.
Yep.
And that's, or you may try it. The next one be like, all right, well, I'm going to try and run it this way.
And just run with that. Because you generally know what your idea is good. It's sound. Maybe there's a nuance here or there you could have changed or not. But really, at the end of the day, get after it and do it and trust yourself. Like for me and you, we could probably pick from like the top 3 best ideas, and they're probably all going to be generally fucking good.
And that's where it's like, fuck it, I'm going to do one of these 3. A lot of people that I talk to in business, they just, or even just in life, like can't make a decision. It seems as we're so distracted by internet or culture or whatever. Like there's just a lot of life distraction. I think people are so cautious to make decisions. You know, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. And not deciding, you know, like, somebody just be like, fuck it, I'm going to do this. And whether that's right or wrong, you don't know until you get into it, but you've already made that decision. So now you got to write it out, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes in doing that, you learn like, that was the long way to do this. It's
for sure
probably not the best way to put cheese on.
Yeah. 100%.
So now you've got, well, let's try this way. This worked, you know?
That's exactly right. And in fact, in everything we've done, that's been our approach to get to the best option. Yeah. And you get that through experience. But that was the point of now doing it all the time and documenting it and rolling it out to scale.
Yeah.
I think if you could do that, you could scale anything like Salon Suites.
Yes.
You kind of figured it out now. Like she's been in some. Now you have your own. And you're like, okay, think we see this now.
Yep.
That's where it's at. Like that's the tipping point.
Yeah.
That's the tipping point we're both at again. So the podcast from a year from now, I bet will reflect what we talked about today from the first one to this one to the next one. I would almost put $100 million guarantee on it.
There you go. I think that's a low number.
Yeah, exactly. Well, good shit. But I bet, damn, we almost hit an hour and a half. Looks like
shit. All right.
Maybe almost 2 hours. It's fucking 108. Yeah, good shit.
All right.
So you guys, if you do hear from the beginning, go back and listen to give yourself that experience or that insight into what we said, that even in 1 year, you can make a big difference. So think about yourself in 1 year from now, you could make that big difference too, and set yourself up for that next, phase of trajectory. But, I appreciate you guys. Brad, thank you again, for not only helping me today,
of course,
but also throwing down on this, 'cause this is some of the funnest shit that I miss doing.
Yeah.
Business took over, which is great. But this is pretty fun. So appreciate you, man. Shout out Electric Lounge, Skylar, Alex for holding it down for us while we get to do this.
Yes.
Yeah. But appreciate you guys. More to come soon. So thank you for listening. Brad, good shit, man.
As always.
Out. This is the Uncensored Podcast with Robert Peppo.
Do you think people will vote for me?